Hey everyone, good afternoon. It's Bobby Johnson, co-founder of KeepLocalAlive.org, coming at you again. Got another quarantine hat on for you, but hey, if you're watching, we're going to do a little contest. If you can name the team this logo represents, you're going to get a shout out from me, so go ahead. Anyway, hey, I want to do something a little bit differently today. If you've been following along, I've been talking about the various and important reasons for supporting locally owned businesses, not only during this time of this pandemic, but also going forward. But I want to do something a little different. But before I do that, let me recap where we've been. Here's what I've talked about so far. The difference between locally owned and a local business, it's dramatic. I talked about the high-level economics of supporting a locally owned business versus, shopping, spending $1 at a chain store or big box store. I talked about all the uniqueness and character that these businesses bring to our communities. I talked about a couple of terms called the local premium and reciprocating energy and the impacts that locally owned businesses have and what they bring to the communities. I talked about entrepreneurship. These are entrepreneurs, they're risk takers, they're passionate. They probably risk a lot to bring the product or the service that they bring you. I've talked about localness, the local jobs they create. Not only do they create local jobs, but they hire local accountants, they hire local finance people, they hire local social media people. So there's a compounding effect there. And then yesterday, one of the more important things I think is the relationship and the service. More than likely, these business owners are in their business. They work in their business. If you go there, you more than likely will run into them and develop a relationship with them and get to know them. And I've been blessed over the last 4 years to have met thousands of these people. And I am so impressed with all of them because they all have an incredible story. And I think that that's part of kind of an intangible that you get by supporting locally owned businesses. But today I want to discuss something a little bit different. I want to define something, and I want to also talk about a misconception. Let me define something first. A small business, according to U.S. standards, is any business with 500 employees or less. That's a small business, 500 employees. Okay, most locally owned businesses don't have 500 employees. In fact, there's a term a lot of people haven't heard of. They're called micro businesses. Micro businesses are defined as 9 employees or less. That's a lot of the stay-at-home businesses, many of these coffee shops, little boutiques. So it's a large group of these locally owned businesses I'm referring to. But more than likely, they're probably at about 50 employees or less, so they're pretty small. So I just wanted to make you aware of those terms. So when somebody says, yeah, that's a small business according to the US, well, they could have 500 employees. That's a pretty big business. So anyway, the next misconception I want to talk about today is I think a lot of people think that these little mom and pop shops and these locally owned businesses, the owners are just super rich people and they're just all really, really doing really well. That is not the case. When you look at the entirety of small businesses and locally owned businesses, when I say the entirety, I'm saying from the ones that just opened up 3 months ago, God help them, to the ones that have been in business for 25, 30, 40 years. Here's the statistic for you. 30% of those businesses are losing money. More than likely, they're the ones that are just getting going. There's another 30% that are just breaking even every year. So that leaves 40% of these businesses that are actually making money. The reason I bring that up is so just the impact of this shutdown and what that's going to have on these businesses is going to be vast. Do those businesses that were already losing money for a variety of reasons, it takes a while to get up and get into the black, do you really think that they're gonna survive this? No, I know a lot of businesses that just won't. And then there's the other ones that were just getting to that break-even point, right? Scrapping by. Are they gonna survive if this keeps going? Probably not. So keep that in mind. We've got to be doing everything we can to help support these businesses because come 3 months, 6 months, 12 months from now, our local streets, our main streets, and many of these quaint little towns that we have are going to look completely different. So keep that in mind. Let's keep going. Let's keep the support going. Let's keep this groundswell growing for these locally owned businesses and doing everything we can to help them survive. Thanks again. Don't forget about the contest for the hat. Take care.